No contact with my parents for 24 years because they tricked me into giving up my baby. Would I be the a-hole for refusing to see them before my mother dies? I was 15 when I got pregnant and 16 when I had my baby. Immediately after giving birth, my mother had forms for me to sign, telling me they were hospital admin forms. She was my mother. I believed her. They were actually adoption papers. My baby was taken right out of my arms and I didn't see him again for 20 years. The father of my baby and I were still together when I gave birth. His parents weren't exactly jumping for joy that we were kids having a baby, but they were all in to help us. They helped me get a job as a waitress in my boyfriend's uncle's restaurant. I worked nights and weekends. My boyfriend worked in his dad's auto parts store. Every dollar we made, we saved for the baby. It wasn't much, but we were committed to the family we had started. My parents were not so supportive and kicked me out as soon as I told them. They harassed me constantly to get an abortion, then demanded that I have the baby adopted. Once, my dad attacked my boyfriend on the street, and my mother accosted his mother in the middle of the mall. I stopped talking to them for months. Then one day, they called and said they had a change of heart, that they didn't want to lose me or the baby. I was wary, but hopeful. My boyfriend's parents encouraged me to give them a chance. We all regretted it in the end. When I went into labor, I was at my parents' house. They took me to the hospital and told me they couldn't get a hold of my boyfriend or his parents. They promised they would keep trying until they reached someone. They lied. I left that hospital heartbroken and betrayed. I went to my boyfriend and his parents and we grieved together. Days later, my parents had me taken from their home and forced back to their house. I ran away. They dragged me back again and again. They finally let me go when I tried to end my life. I hated them. I never wanted to see them again. When I was 22, my boyfriend and I got married. It wasn't a grand event. We were married at the courthouse, then went back to my in-laws for a backyard barbecue reception. A year later, we welcomed our second child into the world. The trauma from the events surrounding my first birth hit us both hard, especially my husband. I wouldn't have had it any other way, but he still insisted on being in the delivery room with me. I wanted my mother-in-law there with us too. His dad and siblings waited on guard in the waiting room and outside the hospital. Overkill? Maybe, but we felt safer knowing there were people there for us, making sure nothing happened. I've given birth to a total of 4 babies. We love each and every one of them, and yet our hearts ached and yearned for our firstborn. Every day I thought of him and hoped he went to a good family that loved him. Every year on his birthday, my husband would buy him a Matchbox car, and I would bake him a rhubarb sponge pudding. We had no idea if he even liked rhubarb sponge pudding or Matchbox cars, or if he even knew what they were, but we did it anyway. My husband isn't a fan of cake, so I imagined our son was also not a fan of cake. We'd stick a candle in the pudding, sing the song, wish him a long and happy life, and take a photo of us and the kids around his rhubarb sponge pudding. It may seem stupid to some to keep that wound open, but it was how we coped with his loss. 4 years ago, I was out of town with my oldest daughter at a softball camp when our firstborn showed up at our home. My husband called to tell me to get home immediately. He didn't tell me why, but I could hear something in his voice I'd never heard before. Thinking something was wrong, I pulled my daughter out of camp and drove home. I can't quite find the words or express how I felt at what happened when we arrived home. Today, we are in regular contact with our eldest. We talk often, mostly video calls. We like to see him and he likes to see us when we talk. He games with his younger brothers and annoys the heck out of his sister, and they adore him. He was adopted by an older couple who couldn't have kids, and he was an only child. He loves having siblings. He has spent Christmas with us every year since he came back into our lives, and stays for a month. For his birthday, we all fly to him and stay for a week. I imagined correctly. He doesn't like cake. He doesn't like rhubarb either, so I bake him a peach sponge pudding instead. We also fly to him on the anniversary week of his parents' deaths. They died within days of each other. His father had found us years before when our son first told his parents that one day he would like to meet us. I am so grateful to the man and woman who adopted him. They gave him a good life, full of love, and raised a good son. I wish I could have known them, thanked them. A few weeks ago, my dad contacted my in-laws. My mother is dying. They have regrets and want to repair our relationship before she goes. Every part of me is against it. They can both choke to death on their regrets for all I care. There isn't 1 ounce of me that's even a little bit willing to give them that. I hate them for what they did to us, for stealing our son, for taking him right out of my arms. All that time lost because of their cruelty and selfishness. I hate them. My husband has no love for them at all, but he thinks it would be good for me to show them how well we've done, how good our life has been without them. He wants them to meet our kids, all our kids. He wants them to come face to face with the child they took from us. He wants to rub in their faces all they've missed out on and leave them with new regrets. I don't think they deserve to lay their eyes on so much goodness. But I think of my son and the good life he had, the good people who gave him that life. I can't say we would have been able to give him that. Who knows what kind of life a couple of teenage parents would have been able to provide. Maybe we would have had the life we have now if we had kept him. Maybe not. My father-in-law says probably not. The people who mean the most to me vary in their opinions about the situation, but they know us. They know more of our history than I wrote here. I'm hoping for impartiality from Reddit. Would I be the a-hole if I don't give my parents a chance?